In a world powered by global commerce, the interconnected web of supply chains drives our economy. But vulnerabilities within these chains can bring nations to their knees. As threats to supply chains multiply, we need to come together and share our intel. Welcome to the Tapa Emea's Conference 2023. Join the world's leading minds for 2 days of learning, collaboration, and innovation. Discover advanced strategies from risk assessment methodologies to cutting-edge vendor management techniques. The threats are real, and the impact is felt worldwide. Connect with top industry professionals, exchange ideas, and build relationships that redefine supply chain resilience. Join us to secure supply chain resilience.
Good morning and welcome to the Tapa Emea 2023 virtual conference here from our studio in Goch, Germany. It's really a pleasure for me and the entire Tapa Emea team to welcome you to our virtual conference. Of course, it's a different situation because you can see me, I cannot see you. But I can promise you that we have an amazing agenda and that we have really a lot of topics which is really interested in to listen, to learn, and to understand. We have more than 700 registrations, and actually every second more people will join us. So today, for the next 3 hours, please ensure that you really listen carefully. And if you have a question, please send your question to info@tapaemea.org. Tomorrow, we will continue with the same setup and again, an amazing speaker lineup. So it's very important that you give us your feedback, because for us, it's always important, as you know, to do whatever we can, for you as a member and for the non-members, as a non-profit industry association. Everything what we do is from the members for the members. So I only would like to say welcome right now, and I'm really happy and proud to introduce you again to our conference host, Sam Pauli. I think you all know her, so from that point of view, for me, it's a pleasure that we have Sam again here, and she will guide you through the agenda and the entire program. So I will see you later, and please welcome Sam. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and as Thorsten said, welcome to our live stream studio here in Germany for the 3rd annual Tapa Emea virtual conference, and thank you so much for having me back. Once again, we have an outstanding group of speakers joining us today and tomorrow to discuss the very latest challenges to cargo security and the resilience of supply chains in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, as well as looking at the types of solutions available now to help manage those risks and prevent product and financial losses caused by cargo crime. Plus, we're giving you the chance to meet the Tapa Emea 2023 Premier Partners in our special virtual exhibition. You can go to the exhibitor section of our conference website at any time during this event to find out more about each partner and their products and services, where you can take also the opportunity to contact them directly if you need more help or more information. So let's get started. Now, while the exact level of incidents and loss values relating to the cargo crime landscape in EMEA remains difficult to quantify because of a lack of reporting, one fact is indisputable. The theft of product from supply chains across the region is a growing multi-billion euro a year industry in its own right. Tapa Emea's TIS database now contains over 100,000 cargo thefts recorded in more than 90 countries. While less than 20% of these crimes reported a loss value to the association, these incidents alone produced a combined loss of more than 1.2 billion euros. Or, to look at it another way, that's the equivalent of 670,000 euros of goods being stolen from supply chains in EMEA every 24 hours of every day of the past 5 years. It's an astonishing figure, and in reality it could be far, far worse. But another unknown statistic is the number of potential losses which are prevented every year by the security solutions and technology systems that businesses are deploying to protect their people, assets and cargoes. Enhanced technology in its many forms is now the most effective toolkit driving supply chain security. And there's still so much more to come as specialist supply chain security providers continue to combine their deep knowledge of the sector with the latest advancements in the world of technology. Today and tomorrow, our Resilience at Risk conference sessions devote airtime to speakers involved in the development and deployment of these solutions, as we look at what's possible today, what's coming next, and what might be possible in the years to come to help eliminate cargo security risks and enhance supply chain resilience. You'll be hearing from speakers joining us here in the Tapa Emea studio in Germany, as well as others who have recorded their presentations from their own locations for this event. But first, let's start by looking at what's happening right now in terms of criminal attacks on supply chains, with an update from Tapa Emea's President and CEO, Torsten Neumann, looking at the latest 9 months of recorded cargo crime data in the EMEA region. So let's welcome Torsten back to the studio for our opening session. Torsten, over to you.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, thanks again. I hope also you enjoyed the video. So the opening video, as you have seen, the video is really covering our conference we had this year in sunny Amsterdam. And I also would like to mention before I will start my update here, that from a charity point of view, we really collected more than 10,000 euro, and a special thanks to all of you, which we will give again next year at the conference to another charity, to another organization focusing on supporting people with needs. So that's really quite important, but of course we will announce it. But we will also announce later today and tomorrow is really all the dates you already should block in your calendar, especially for 2024, because you will see a lot of activities. But now let's start. The cargo crime and the landscape in EMEA is really changing, and you will see a lot of threats, and in the next 45 minutes, let's really focus on the data. Let's really give you an example what kind of data we already have in our TIS tool, what kind of data you can use, what is important for you to understand, where do we have the risk, where's the criminal threat coming from within your supply chain, and how can you connect the dots and ensure to mitigate your risk to the lowest level possible. As we all know, there's no 100% security. But it's also very important how Tapa Emea can help you to secure your supply chain and to mitigate your risk and to come to the lowest level possible. And really also to ensure what you can do to reduce your losses, your impact also on customer satisfaction. So at the end of the day, the goal is to achieve business as usual at all times. And I would like to repeat that again, because I really like what Daniel Egwall said at our Nordics conference earlier this year, that the goal is to achieve business as usual at all times, which is not easy, as we all know, especially in the environment we are in right now. But what is also quite important, to look back a little bit, So let's go back 10 years, okay? What a difference a decade makes, huh? Everything and everyone looked better in 2013, I would argue right now, so looking at 10 years ago. But it's important to understand when we collected 10 years ago data via the TIS tool, you can see that, for example, in 2013, we collected 1,145 incidents over 12 months. This is what we collect now nearly every month. And what is also quite important, that you can see that we still had an increase already, and we had a lot of support, but we still need your support. So from that point of view, it's very important, that there is no finish line. We always look for continuous improvement. We always look for new tools. We always look for new features. But let's really focus on data. Let's really focus and fast track the next 10 years. And look what's going on in 2023. And one of the most important things is, and you can see all the numbers. So just to let you know, for the next 30 minutes, you will see tons of data. You will see tons of information on the slides. I will not read them. So this is up to you. And of course, afterwards, you can see everything live on YouTube, on our Tapa Emea YouTube channel. But you can also, see all the presentations later on our website. So if you go to tapaemea.org, you can see all the presentations, all the videos, and everything later on. If you look at the sources where we receive the data from, as you can see, the majority, nearly 90%, is coming from our law enforcement agencies. And 7.7%, or less than 10, is coming from the members. Less than 3% is media sources. And of course, we are also using modern technology. So we have web crawler technology. We look at different kind of artificial intelligence, machine learning stuff to really gather data. Nevertheless, we still see the tip of the iceberg. But what is really important is that especially police forces, law enforcement agencies, they see us as the trusted partner, especially as we are a non-profit industry association, and they all know that we neutralize the data. And that's really quite important. What is also important is that we provide them access to data they don't have. We provide them solutions. We even create police reports out of the TIS tool. So if you go to some countries within the European Union, and if you look at their police reports, we create the statistics you do see right now. And everything what you see right now is from the TIS tool. All the data, all the breakdowns. For example, that we have cargo thefts now in 67 countries. Everything is coming from the TIS tool. In the first 9 months of 2023, only 4.4% of all the reported crimes do have a loss value. Nevertheless, this loss value is already representing more than 550 million euro. And the average loss, is for the major crime is more than 2 million euro. And it's also quite important that we had more than 48 incidents with a loss value of more than 1 million euro. And more than 200 incidents reported a loss more than 100,000 euro. So it's a significant impact on your supply chain. And as you can imagine, maybe you can survive one hit, maybe also 2 hits, but if you have more than 2-3 hits every year with a value of more than 1 million, it's really an extreme thing. And of course, we have extreme contributors over the last 9 months. Like we added 40,000 incidents from the South African police services. And I would like to say a special thanks really to Massimo and Joshua, based in Johannesburg, because they have an amazing contact now, and they re-established an amazing contact with the South African police services and added more than 40,000 incidents. A little bit the downside is that SAPS is not providing any financial data. Nevertheless, it's not always needed, because what you want to understand is where do we have the hotspots? Where do we see really, for example, where losses occur? And this week, actually, we sent out a warning, to all our members, because we have seen an uptick on a specific parking place in Germany. And of course, we share this data. And of course, we say, this is something you need to be aware of. In some cases, avoid this parking place, go 10 miles more or 10 kilometers more, and then your risk is going completely to another level. What is also quite important, if you look at the EMEA region, that we receive significant data. So if you look at some of the data, more than 1,000 reports, nearly 2,000 from Germany already, close to 4,000 coming to UK. A lot of data is coming from Sweden. We have amazing support from the Swedish police forces. We have really an amazing contact. The same in Denmark. Actually, I will go to Odense in Denmark in 2 weeks' time, and I will present the TIS tool, Tapa, and our solutions to all the police heads for the entire Danish country. And I would like to say special thanks also to Helle Pedersen, and to Lars from the Danish police, because they really invited Tapa, as they are Taparized. How can you not be Taparized? So, and this is really the important thing. But again, it's very important, all this data is coming from the TIS tool. Everything what you see right now is what you can create. Everything what you see, what we present right now, is what we will give you at least once, when not even twice or 4 times a year. But you can create everything on your own because you know your supply chain better than we do. We look at the entire industry picture. We look at everything what is going on right now within the supply chain. But it's also quite important to understand a high crime rate reflects better reporting and better intelligence sharing. It doesn't mean that the risk in UK or in Sweden is higher than in Italy. It only means that we have more transparency. Because let me go back once again. And if you look, for example, at Italy, okay, do you really believe that we only have 558 incidents in Italy? I have my strong doubts on that. And I will show you a slide later on where you see even another number, which is even more interesting. So fast forward again to the slide where we have been. So low levels of reporting means obvious that we have potentially more supply chain risk because we have no transparency. We don't know what's going on. You know, we have some numbers, but we don't have the entire transparency. And as you know, your risk mitigation, your risk management process is only as good as your data is. And one of the biggest things where the team and we are now focused on is really data accuracy. Data, data, data. And how do you analyze the data? And we can only manage risk and prevent losses when we know the threats we face. And you all know that. That's very important. So what we do here right now is we said, okay, forget the big ones, forget really the completely major contributors, like the 40,000 reports from South Africa, like the 100 million US or euro loss, in Belgium, or right now the 200 million euro loss in Germany. And if you look at this, and if you look at from another angle, you will see with the 2,175 INS reports, we still have every day, roughly 835,000 reported in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So we are coming very close to 1 million euro every day reported crime. And as you also know, a reported crime is the tip of the iceberg. It's also quite important if you look at major losses, like losses above 100,000 euro. The average value is coming close to 1 million. So it's a massive impact. And what is also quite important, if you look now at the top 10 countries, as you have seen before, South Africa, it is number 1, UK, Germany, but this is traditionally over the last really decades. But it's quite important again to understand it's not always the reality. And it's also important, if you go to the next slide, for example, major crimes, all the big losses, every hit above 100,000 euro. And now compare this slide with the slide before, the total number, and now the major numbers. And now you see, for example, that the major number in Sweden is only 1. In Denmark, there was not one loss reported above 100,000 euro. And in Italy, it's 0. And again, as an industry association, we have our strong doubts that this is reality. Nevertheless, as the Tapa TIS tool, we have really the best tool in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and this is recognized by Europol. And as already said, nearly 90% of all our reports are coming from police forces. And right now, we have more than 300 police contacts in Europe, Middle East, and Africa alone, giving us data, sharing intelligence. But of course, we have also amazing member companies sharing with us all their data every month, every quarter, every year. And I would like to say it again. If you have a report, please report the incident. Please do so. It's really important, that we get visibility and also warn other members what is going on in our world. So major crimes, as you can see, we have a lot of incidents reported from Germany. We have a lot of incidents reported from France, and you can take a look at all the numbers. But what is quite important is really the total value. Again, it's more than 500 million euro, only we listed. Of course, we know all the recent studies from the European Union, like 8.2 billion euro losses, or we know that the FBI gave a warning with 40 billion globally, or the German government, it was a white paper which was established really by 3 big industry associations in Germany, the German Insurance Association, the German Logistics Association, and Tapa, where we really showed the ministry that the losses in Germany has an economy impact of up to 2.1 billion euro. The average value is interesting, that you already go above 2 million euro if you look at all the major crimes. So that's really quite interesting to understand that. But I think it's also quite interesting to really take a deeper look and a deeper dive in what kind of products are the most targeted products within the top 5 countries. And whilst you see that in South Africa, for example, it's a lot of high value material, it's phones, it's cash, it's electronics, it's metal, and it's food and drink. But what is interesting over the last 2 years and over the last, really 12 months, what changed in the top 5 countries is that fuel theft is number 1 in all countries. And metal is really part of the top 5 in the top 3 countries. So that's really quite interesting to understand that. And, over the last couple of years, we have more and more car manufacturers joining us. And here you can see also, especially in Germany, but in other countries, what is the reason for that? And that's also quite important. So data. And if you look at all the different things, and Sam already mentioned that, right now we have more than 100,000 single incidents listed in the database. But that's not the only thing. We have a lot of big data. We have a lot of really data coming from sources where they say, I'm aware of a major loss, but I cannot give you the details. And I will come back later to you on this one, but we still capture this data. That's also quite important to understand that. So a lot of the details are really, or a lot of the incidents is where the devil is in the detail. And that's really also quite important to understand that. And if you look at, the incidents, the major incidents by product, miscellaneous, of course, it's number 1. Why? Because we don't know what product is lost. But it's not important because we know where it happened, when it happened, and we know the value. And that's for us, from a risk mitigation point of view, by far more important. Because 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, it was the smartphone manufacturers which were under attack. Then it was pharmaceutical. Nowadays, it's all industries. Whatever criminals can steal, they will steal it. So what we need to understand is really the current threats. We need to understand, with the data we have, and the inside view, what is going on. And what we can say very easily, that all products are attractive to cargo thieves, whatever it is. So for example, this weekend on a very famous highway in Germany, the A1, we have seen in one night that criminals slashed 67 curtain sides. And they have stolen a tremendous amount of, products. And the police right now are still investigating, and we don't know what the impact is right now. But we are also in contact with them to get a better understanding, because 67 trucks, in one night, it is a major thing. What is also quite important still to understand is, that the main risk is still on the truck. But it doesn't mean it's on an unsecured parking location. That's also quite important, So, and we can show you more and more numbers on this one. Of course, you need to do a deep dive into your tool. Of course, you need to take a look in all the data. But if you look at the data we provide you already, you have a kind of a first intro. And again, you can go into the system as a Tapa member. You can deep dive into the system. You can create all your statistics. You can download everything, and that's exactly what we are doing. So what is also quite important, especially in Europe, is that violent crime is rising. It's still a small percentage, but it's still a very, very, very major crime. So violent attacks against drivers, unfortunately, are going up. And it's also quite important, that fraudulent pickups are going up again. And please have in mind, now we are in the peak season. So now Christmas is coming. And of course, it's quite important, that especially now, the risk is going up again. As we always say it, due diligence, create the awareness, and at the end of the day, create a mindset change. People need to understand where's the risk. Drivers need to understand where's the risk. Drivers need to understand what they can say, what they shouldn't say. Because still 70% of all losses are insider knowledge. And what is the fuel theft factor here? Of course, as I said, it's a major growth trend in 2023. First of all, it's driven by fuel costs. If you stop on a Monday at a fuel station here in Germany, 1 liter costs you €2. If you go there on Tuesday, it costs you 1.80. So now you can imagine, if you look at it, and if you go for a truck, for example, 150 thefts are right now reported in our database. And the total value is already more than 370,000 euro. And that's really quite important to understand that. So I know it's not a major loss, but there's an interruption on your supply chain. And it's not only the fuel theft, there's always a damage link to it. There's always something, where you need to go to a repair station and your truck will stand still for maybe 1 day, maybe even 2 days. And of course, when the truck is empty, you cannot drive anymore. So there's always a customer impact. And that's also quite important. But what we can also see, that we have by far more and more and fewer recorded crimes are linked to unsecured parking. So that's really interesting, how the risk is changing and how the risk landscape is changing, especially in Europe, but also in Europe, Middle East and Africa. But in Europe alone, if you look at it right now, and let's very shortly say that in South Africa, for example, only 0.03% of reported crimes are linked to unsecured parking places. That's a very, very low number. But remember the European urine study, which was also based on Tapa numbers, where in the past we had 67%, 56%. Now in UK, for example, it's 6.1%. In Germany, it's still at 25% or 26 nearly. But in France, it's also dropping to 17. And in Sweden, it's going down to 3.6. So what is the reason for that? Of course, one reason is, the SSTPA program. But the biggest reason is also the Tapa PSR program. Because the industry is still having by far more secured parking places and is establishing on a faster way more secured parking places than anyone else. We need parking places. And there's no question about that. We need parking places all over Europe. And we still support and we will support everything what is linked to parking places. As you also know, Tapa Emea achieved this year that we are in a position to also train you on the European Union SSTPA program. And we are very proud of that. But we still need to drive the Tapa PSR program. And we still need to drive everything what is possible from the industry. And we have a lot of partners doing it for us. So let me mention really, for example, Bosch. Let me mention Snap and others. But they drive really parking places. And even when they are not certified, but we still list them. Because we look at them and we try to guide them towards the certification. And you will see that later in our numbers, when we show you certification numbers. And we also show you when numbers are going down. And that's really quite important. But we always have really an explanation behind that. And we look at the root cause and we immediately start actions to see what we can do again from the industry for the industry. Because it's an industry challenge. And that's really quite important. We are in a really unprecedented time. It's really crazy what's going on in the world right now. And this automatically means that we have more risk. I hope you like our studio. I hope you can see the background. And there's a reason why it's very red. I'm not saying that we are on orange alert or red alert or whatever, but unfortunately, over the last 2 to 3 years, we see a tremendous increase related to the risk within our supply chain. And as you know, we have the conflict in the Middle East, we have the conflict in Ukraine, we have a lot of challenges with, staff shortages. It's every day in the press, that we have a driver shortage, we have a driver shortage. We have a lot of impacts on ports. We have a lot of impacts, because of the high fuel prices. And as you also hopefully heard, that in the next couple of weeks, the German government decided to increase the cost for the German highways for trucks by nearly 100%. And this will have another impact. There's no doubt about that. We have still the impact on the migrants, the migrants crisis. We have a lot of impact on the cost of living. We have a lot of activism, especially in Germany. We have the so-called Klimakleber, the guys who try to save the world, and then they block highways, they block streets, and they glue themselves against the road. We have extreme weather situations, and again, fuel thefts, and by far more and more. So going through the entire story, going through all the numbers and all the details, it's very easy to say it again. Every product in the world is under attack. Of course, there are still some products which are more important and really, they love it more, the criminals, than other products. But when they can steal something, they steal it. Even when it's only, a chewing gum or whatever, But everything is attractive on the market. And you can sell everything very fast. You can sell it tomorrow. So we just been approached by a Swedish company, and they said to us, the truck was stolen on Monday and the products in Sweden, and the products already popped up on Tuesday in Russia, in Belarus, and really going into the area of Middle East and Africa already. So they have a very, very efficient supply chain. And more risk means more opportunities for criminals, as we all know. And if you look at Europol, it's a strong partner for Tapa Europe, Middle East and Africa, a long-term partner. And we shared with all of you this report, but it's quite important to understand that when we say cargo at rest is cargo at risk, this means because organized crime groups are attacking exactly this part of your supply chain, one of the weakest parts, when cargo is coming to rest. And it doesn't mean automatically the truck or parking place. No, it's in your warehouse. It's in front of your warehouse. At the second we stop, your cargo is at the highest risk. And Europol alone identified more than 5,000 organized crime groups in Europe alone. More than 180 nationalities are really focused on organized crime. And as you know, it's a massive market. Look at the recent case in Germany, a huge company in Germany. They suffered an internal loss of more than 200 million euro. And they are not in the end. They started less than 100 million euro, then it was 100 million euro, then it was 140, 180, and the last number was that they strongly believe it's more than 200 million euro. And that's really interesting to understand that. So we know what's coming next. We know what's going on. And a lot of things, what is also quite important to understand, of course, it's linked to digitalization. We as Tapa Emea, we drive digitalization like crazy, as you can see it here in our studio. And as you can see it also at the conferences, as you can see it with TIS. We just released, by the way, TIS 1.5. So within 12 months, we already had the 5th release with more features, more functionalities, and also, of course, enhanced functionalities. Especially, we really adjusted with the feedback from you as the member, but also with the feedback we receive, especially from police forces. We also adjusted, one example, a European Union filter. Why? Because I presented at the European Union and there was a request coming from France, can we have a filter from the European Union? And one day later, we created the filter. And now we can look at the numbers, what's going on in the European Union. But what is quite important to understand what's next, of course, it's cyber. It's cyber, it's cyber, it's cyber, and cyber. And a lot of small companies and mid-sized companies still do underestimate the risk of cybercrime. And unfortunately, they are also not prepared. And it's a cost factor. That's also quite important. But this threat, like all forms of cybercrime, will increase over the next coming of years. And if you attend a Tapa training, and if you compare the Tapa training now with the Tapa training 10 years ago or 5 years ago, 5 years ago before the COVID crisis, we had classroom trainings. So you saw Markus Prinz live in the room or one of our trainers. Now everything is digitalized. We have even avatars right now. So if you go to the new training, right now you see me or you see Markus, but actually it's our avatar. And right now we speak English to you. But with one mouse click, we speak Italian or French or Spanish. So we can choose out of 81 languages. It's an amazing opportunity. But what is also quite important to understand that modern technology makes life easier, but not always or nearly never more secure. because modern technology, is also used by the criminals. And whilst all the Western countries discuss how they can regulate artificial intelligence, how will you regulate that, when it's coming from countries like Russia or China or North Korea? You cannot. It's very important to understand that. And the risk with this modern technology is really going to another level. As I told you already, if you look at the avatar technology, I must say, if you don't know it's an avatar, you strongly believe it's Markus. And of course it is Markus, but it's a fake Markus. It's an avatar Markus. And if you look at how easy this technology is, and I will be, I'm also presenting, new cyber threats to the supply chain. So we have, for example, a flipper, and we test the flipper, and you can read really every freaking data from access control cards, from your passport, from credit cards. You can have access control. I tested it in the hotel last week. So I had my hotel card. I put the flipper against the hotel card, and I was in a position to open my hotel door with the flipper. Or a jammer. We have now 2 brand new jammers in Tapa Emea. We are allowed to use them, and it's crazy. It's crazy how good they are working, So there's no GSM anymore. There's no GPS anymore. And even if you have a Wi-Fi, whatever, you can jam everything, whatever you want. But are we also to blame? In a fast-paced, dynamic, and sometimes low-margin world of supply chain logistics, many factors can open the door for cargo crime. And of course, sometimes we need to take a look at ourselves. And of course, sometimes we need to say, okay, the constant commercial pressure. In many cases, unfortunately, as I said, creating awareness, train your people, train your trainers, create a mindset change. The driver needs to understand where the risk is. A huge lack of risk awareness. Because the interesting thing is, when I speak, on a daily basis with Tapa members, in many cases, they still do not understand the value and the opportunity with all the data we have in TIS. Of course, staff shortages, background checks. Do you have the right people within your operation? Look at the case in Germany. Insider. Everything was insider. 200 million euro impact. Outsourcing. Even we outsource as Tapa Europe, Middle East and Africa. So I'm really proud of the team. And, if you look at the team we have based in the Netherlands, with Ab and his team, our team, and then in Germany, then our people in India and our team in South Africa. But we still have outside and outsourced support because we cannot do everything on our own. But it will increase your risk. There's still a lack of due diligence. There's still a lack of understanding, especially quite often on a senior executive level. If you go to the COO or CFO, and if you tell them, yeah, I'm the security guy, they always see you as the guard or the guy who's opening the barrier, the CCTV system, the access control, but they don't see what is under the level of the sea. So they only see the iceberg, but they don't see what is below the water level. A typical Titanic example, and that's what you need to understand, and that's what you need to tell them. And of course, there's a link and coupled with low penalties for offenders when they are caught, as we all know it. So the judgment on this one is really low. And that's the reason why organized criminals are more and more attacking our supply chain. Mitigating supply chain losses. Okay, so let's now really go and understand. But again, you will see a lot of information. Read it, take a look at it, look at the slides, look at the YouTube video, pause it. But what is quite important that you need to ask yourself the question, am I doing enough? Is my risk mitigation, my risk management process really what I need? Do I need to tailor-gate something? Can I jump on industry standards? Can I use the industry standards on a way where my risk is already going down by 50, 70, 80, 90, or even 96%? Because if you look at the numbers we receive from Tapa members, we receive numbers every month, and they say to us, I reduced my losses to 86%. Because I implemented TSR in my entire supply chain, and my losses decreased by 86%. You need to understand the MO. You need to understand where criminals are attacking you. You need to understand where's your risk. And sometimes small adjustments can change your risk dramatically. As I already said, changing a parking place, changing a delivery address, changing a route can mitigate your risk dramatically. Do not stop. Do a driver change. So again, very, very small stuff. And what is also quite important, and that's the reason why we are already here for 23 years, and as you all know, 2025 is the 25th anniversary of Tapa Emea. But if you look at it, the facility security requirements, the trucking security requirements, and the parking security requirements are key pillars of Tapa Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Tapa on a global perspective. And Markus Prinz will guide you through the latest news and updates of everything what is going on with standards later today. So stay tuned on this one. It's very important. We have the intelligence. We have the biggest database in the world on cargo crime, especially in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But I'm really, really proud. If you go now to the TIS tool, look at the TIS tool and look at the right corner, and you will already see that Tapa APAC right now is testing the tool. And you also see already incidents in the APAC region. So as a Tapa EMEA member, you can see Tapa APAC incidents. And as a Tapa APAC member, you can see Tapa EMEA incidents. Right now, it's the test. So it's only a small, really, representative from Tapa APAC are testing the tool. But we already adjusted everything. And I strongly believe that on the 1st of January 2024, you will see a big announcement that Tapa APAC will join TIS, and all the data, all their certification data on FSR, TSR, GSR, and more will be integrated and visible for all of you in the TIS tool. Let's have a very quick snapshot, but Markus can give you a better explanation, because this is Markus' heart. This is what he is doing every day. So this is keeping him awake in the night. It's certification, it's trainings, it's the standards. And now, of course, I can focus and say, hey, look at FSR, it's growing by 70%. Look at TSR, it's growing by 20%. Ooh, what happened with PSR? It's very easy. It's very easy to explain that. We are in a renewal cycle, so which means we are checking right now what's going on with the parking places who reported to us that they fulfill our requirements. And we are waiting for answers. And that's the reason why we list them already. No, I'm sorry, but I cannot list you anymore as a parking place because you never came back to us. So which means we need to come to you. We need to control your parking place if it's still okay. And I know that Markus and his team will do it over the next 3 to 6 months. And I know that the numbers will go up again. But we are perfectly fine to show you these numbers because we know it will change. And that's really quite important. And of course, we will also add numbers from SSTPA. And I must say, if you look at it, for example, if you go and if you would like to certify your parking plates against the SSTPA program, and if you are using a Tapa accredited independent audit body, which is also an EU accredited audit body like SGS or DQS, then you will automatically receive also a Tapa PSR certificate. So it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win situation. You receive 2 industries, or one EU certificate, 1 industry certificate for the price of 1. So that's really quite important to understand that. It's also important that we need you. Okay? We need you to reach new heights. I will not say it for the last time. Okay, I will say it again. But give us your data. This is the most important thing. Share whatever you receive. We are strong because of you. And you make us even stronger. But it's still important to understand that the resilience is at risk like never before. Like never before. And that's really quite important. So please, okay, continue on this one. Please ensure that you share with us your intelligence. And what is also quite important, what we hear now for the last 17 years, by the way. So we established IIS roughly 70 years ago, and it started very small, okay? Yeah, but Thorsten, we cannot report our cargo crime statistics because we need to protect our company reputation. 100% agree. There's no doubt about that. We cannot identify a customer which has suffered a loss. Also perfectly fine. You're absolutely right. We don't have the full information. I said it already again. It's not needed. We don't want this information in open source. It is not an open source. And I will explain you later on what we do to protect all your information. And I need to be and remain anonymous. Also absolutely right. And that's exactly what we do for the last 17 years. So let me give you some examples, okay? We will never ask for your company names. And even if we find a company name or a product name, a product description, anything what can have a hint to your company, we will delete it out of the report. We will erase everything. And when we know that your manufacturing site is in a specific city, and of course, when you see more and more losses around the city, and it's always the same description, it's very easy to identify it's this manufacturer. We also eliminate that. That's really quite important. We ask for data, and we ask for a lot of details. But if you don't have them, we are perfectly fine to receive less data because we will adjust it. As already said, just to give you a good example, we receive data from amazing members. Okay, and I don't mention names right now, but we receive numbers also from big manufacturers. You will never be in a position to identify it's this manufacturer because we don't show where it happened. In your database, because we have 2 databases, that's also quite important. We have a members database, which is the one you see, but we also have a so-called hidden database. And in the hidden database, you see all the numbers. And these numbers and the details, you will never be in a position to see them. But if you see at the total number, for example, if you go to Germany, and if you look at the details in Germany, you will see right now approximately a little bit more than 1,000 incidents. But in the back end, we have more than 1,800 incidents. The total number and the total value is calculated on this one. Even the risk is calculated on this one. So we know it happened in this area, but we will not tell you the city. And there's a reason for that, because this company is based only in this city. And as I told you already, everybody knows when it's this city, it's this company. And that's the reason why we avoid that. So don't be shy to share your numbers. You know, nobody will identify it's you. And I know, as I said already, that we say that already for the last 17 years, but it's a constant improvement process. It's constantly learning. It's a constant reminder. Because I hope you loved the data. And I hope that you loved what you have seen right now. And I hope that you will now contribute. And again, don't forget to tell TIS. You know, if you have something, please send it to the TIS team. It's a Tapa team. You know, and the Tapa team is working on everything. And I personally receive at least twice a week an email from the team and saying, Thorsten, here's the report. Can you please guide us and say, what can we say, what can we not say? And in many cases, I say, scratch this, 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 and this, because it's not needed. Because otherwise, people will identify it's this company. And I would like to say really also a special thanks, a really, really, really special thanks to Satya, Neetu, and the team based in India, because what they did for us over the last 9 months, it's really amazing. It's outstanding. And you can already feel that this team is living the TIS tool by heart. And another special thanks to Joshua, because he was doing, you know, all the crazy work with 40,000 incidents. And you will see more, as already said. So far in October 2023, in 1 month, we added again nearly 250 incidents. You know, 57 out of that provided a value. Average loss per major crime, 239,000 euro. And still data are coming in. That's also quite important. Governments are asking us, what is the latest data from 2023? And they ask us in January. And I'm telling them, I can tell you the number in January 2025. Because we receive a lot of data 1 month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, even 12 months later. And that's also perfectly fine. You can provide us your monthly statistics, your quarterly, your annual, also later, as long as you provide them. Okay, because we are building everything for the future. And we are in the strongest ever position over the last 23 years. And we are ready for the next phase of growth. So we invest really in a lot of new tools. We are already discussing new standards. Okay, and I strongly believe that the Tapa supply chain cybersecurity standard will be rolled out also in Europe, Middle East, and Africa soon. But we still hurdle a little bit with GDPR requirements, which are not applicable in the rest of the world. But in the European Union, we need to follow the GDPR. You know, we look for new intelligence tools. We look for new sources. And if you have a great police support and a police contact, please tell us. and we are going in direct contact with them. Everything is free, by the way, for police contacts. Access is free, all the details are free, training is free. So we train all the police guys for free because we strongly believe this is what we need to do because they give us the data. You know, we have a great industry focus next year, so we will focus on specific industries. We will guide you more training solutions, as already said. You know, so later this year, you will already see all our training material. Everything will be in French. And then, beginning of next year, you will see Italian. You will see German. And of course, we are also looking at a Turkish version and potentially also an Arabian version. Of course, we are ready with the Russian version, but everything is right now in a park position. And that's also quite important. We also need to understand if we need to adjust the types of the events and how we can attract more diverse membership. And of course, you know, but if you look at the last 12 months, I'm really proud that we won another great names. And I don't want to mention, you know, that like all the names, but I would like to mention some specific names really joining the Tapa family. And there's a reason for that. You know, Tesla joined just now. You know, a chocolate manufacturer, Lindt, joined. And if you look at it, BMW joined, you know, Guess joined. Again, you know, high luxury clothings. If you look at it, all the big brands joined. Sports clothing joined again. And of course, you know, we know Luke, come on, from Nike. He's already a Tapa ambassador. He's Tapa Rise for the last 20 years. But now we have more people coming and joining. And that's really quite important. And we look for partnerships. Partnership, 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 partnership. So come back to us. We are open for ideas. We build more, we will do more. And if you have questions, either send it to info@tapaemea.org or send it directly to me. I'm always happy to receive questions and I'm always happy to answer your question. This was my update. It's always funny to speak to a camera, but it's nicer to speak to people in front of you. But now I speak to the camera and that's what it is. And let me, you know, say again, welcome to Sam to introduce you to the next speaker. I don't know if you have one or two questions to me, so let's wait, you know, but otherwise.
We'll catch up with some questions later, Torsten,
okay.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later.
So, as I mentioned, Torsten will be joining us again later to look ahead to what's on our agenda for day 2 tomorrow. Now, in 2022 alone, more than $1 trillion in revenue was lost by companies due to internal and external physical security incidents. This figure is equal to the financial impact caused by cyber incidents. In fact, 25% of publicly listed companies reported a drop in their corporate value in the last 12 months following an external or internal security incident. To learn more, Allied Universal and G4S commissioned the World Security Report to canvass the opinions of over 1,700 Chief Security Officers, or CSOs, from 30 countries. Working in large global companies with combined annual revenue of $20 trillion, their participation in the survey was independent and anonymous, giving this unique audience of security leaders the opportunity to respond openly to more than 50 questions on key issues such as emerging and evolving threats, people in security, technology in security, and the future of security. So, what does the report reveal? Yesterday, we caught up with Mike Multizakis, Business Integration and Development Director at G4S Telematics, to tell us more. This is what he had to say.
Hello, everyone. It's great to have you here today, and many thanks to Tapa for putting together yet another amazing event and for the opportunity to present. My name is Mike Multizakis, and I serve as a secure supply chain partner for G4S Academy International. In the next 15 minutes, I'll be sharing insights from our World Security Report. But before I do, a couple of words on the Academy itself. G4S Academy is our platform to create and share knowledge based on the global expertise, tapping into over 800,000 colleagues in 90 countries. Three pillars to the Academy: our specialists, the repository, and our Academy network. I'm honored to be part of the team along with G4S Telematics, focusing on securing global supply chains. Now, last month, our group released our World Security Report, a collection of insights derived from an independent and anonymous survey conducted by a market-leading research agency. This comprehensive survey reached out to just under 1,800 chief security officers from large global companies across 30 countries, covering a wide range of industries and sectors. It's important to note that these companies collectively reported annual revenue of more than 20 trillion in 2022. That's representing almost a quarter of the world's GDP. Each respondent was carefully screened against a set of strict criteria to ensure the highest level of validity and reliability in the findings. The objective was to create a robust and unbiased reflection of the current state of the world's security. Now, the report has 4 chapters on key themes: emerging and evolving threats, people and security and technology, technology and security, and the future of security. It hosts opinion pieces from 3 industry experts and 6 regional chapters. Now, there's a wealth of data in the report, and we would need several hours to do it justice. In the next 15 minutes, however, I will touch on some of the key themes from each chapter of the report, and at the end, I'll be providing all Tapa members a link to download the full report free of charge. So let's begin. Chapter 1, it's all around new and emerging threats. The chapter starts by looking at hazards, and I'll quickly take you through a few of the key statistics. Now, according to the survey, the top most expected security impacting hazards that came out were economic unrest at 47%, pandemics at 42%, climate change at 38%, social unrest at 35%, and disruption of energy supplies at 33%. Within the threats profile, the insider threat was definitely identified as a key issue. Concerningly, internal threats are increasing. 89% of CSOs said that their company experienced some form of internal threat in the last 12 months, and this is expected to increase to 92% in the year ahead. Misuse of company resources or data is the most common internal threat, with 35% suggesting that that's where there should be focus if you're building your own internal security programs. It was this area that had the strongest correlation with implementing more effective security. This was the internal incident most likely to drive companies to improve their security program during the last 12 months. Now, leaking of sensitive information at 36% was expected to become the biggest internal threat in the next 12 months. Unauthorized access to company resources or data, industrial espionage, and intellectual property theft are all expected to increase in the next year, likely driven by unhappy employees or those looking to seek financial gain. So food for thought as you build your program to address these profile of threat. Now, as we navigate these complex challenges, one of our most powerful tools is actually the data. Our recent report is a goldmine of actual insights, and it's imperative that we use the data not just to inform ourselves, but actually to lead conversations with our stakeholders. Take a look at these numbers. 47% of security officers are concerned about economic unrest, impacting their business in the next 12 months. This is up 21% from last year and shows a significant trend. But let's dive deeper. Among those concerned about economic unrest, there's also heightened concern about social unrest, disruption to energy supplies, and even political instability. So what does that mean for us? It means that our stakeholders aren't just looking for a single solution to a single problem. They're looking for a comprehensive approach that considers multiple facets of risk. So the next time you're debating security budgets, present a data-backed, comprehensive risk mitigation plan. Now that's a value proposition. Let's go into chapter 2. We're going to look at people in security, and in particular, balancing the rapidly changing demands of technology and keeping people at the center of our security programs. Now, the survey showed that 67% of the CSOs think that customer service skills are extremely important. 63 said that a higher education degree is extremely important, and 57 believe that the ability to speak multiple languages is highly desirable. Right? The demand is pretty clear in that companies are asking for a more versatile, skilled, and adaptable security professional. They want officers who can wear multiple hats, handling complex security systems, interact effectively with people, and adapt to rapidly changing situations. Another really compelling finding from the chapter is the increasing role of technology. It's shaping the security landscape. Now, as you can see, 85% of chief security officers believe that a strong understanding of technology will become increasingly important in the next 5 years. And 88% said that technology is changing the skills required for security professionals. And again, this isn't just a trend, it's an expectation. But this expectation is not without its challenges. Finding the right security professionals with a solid grasp of technology is a significant hurdle. Now, if finding tech-savvy security professionals is one side of the coin, retaining them is the other side of the coin, right? It's a twofold challenge that we must navigate effectively. 43% of chief security officers find recruitment challenging because security roles are often seen as unattractive career options, right? This is a perception, though, and we need to address it. We're not just offering a job, we should be offering a career path in an ever-evolving, increasingly tech-savvy industry. Let's take another look at another statistic, right? 90% of CSOs find retaining qualified staff a significant challenge. Why is this a problem? Because when we invest in training our staff, especially in tech skills that are so in demand, we want to keep that talent within our organizations. Turnover is costly, not just in financial terms, but also in the loss of institutional knowledge, right? It's a brain drain we need to avoid. Coming to chapter 3. That covered technology and security. And as before, let's show a couple of key findings here. So let's start with the challenges. 87% of those surveyed said that the shift from manned security, staff security, to technology-enabled security is quite challenging. Going deeper into the challenges, over 40% cited concerns about the cost of implementation and ongoing maintenance. And 9 out of 10 of those surveyed were concerned about cyber threats challenging their businesses. So let's deep dive a little bit into those striking findings from chapter 3, the deep interconnectivity between cyber and physical security. Now, as the graphic illustrates, cyber and physical security are no longer isolated domains. They're two sides of the same coin. Our survey found that a staggering 90% acknowledged that cyber threats pose challenges to their physical security systems. These numbers aren't just statistics. They underline a critical real-world concern. Imagine a scenario where vulnerability in your physical security, door access control, let's say, could be exploited to gain unauthorized access to sensitive cyber systems. And the other way around is equally concerning, right? A cyber breach could disable your physical security measures, leaving assets unprotected. So what's the key takeaway? The interconnected landscape. You know, many may be focused purely on just physical or just on cyber. But as we can see it, a weakness in one could compromise the other. By taking a holistic security approach, we not only address the immediate concerns, but also future-proof the security infrastructure. Now that said, whilst we open with words of caution, over 90% confirmed that technology improves security effectiveness. Over half of those interviewed cited real-time monitoring and improved incident response as the most important features of the technology can deliver to security operations. And finally, over half called out threat detection and response technologies and threat intelligence analytics as key features for security operations. So where are we headed? Nearly 90% said that they were looking at remote response in the next 12 months, right? And 42 cited that they plan to invest in AI and AI-powered surveillance within their physical security operations, closely followed by 40% who called out biometrics and facial recognition technology. Coming now to chapter 4, this last chapter, we're going to look at the future of security. And no surprise, the report shows that more than half of the CSOs, so 56%, will prioritize their spending on introducing new technology, followed by training of staff at 52% in the next 12 months. I think that what's also important to consider as we look at security budgets is the complex terrain that lies ahead, right, in the world of security and its impact. Geopolitical tensions, they're not just headlines. Well, they have real-world implications for global trade and global supply chains. A staggering 87% of CSOs expect these tensions to compromise security in the near future. And alongside geopolitical issues, 83% of security leaders anticipate an increase in all types of physical security threats. These are not isolated problems. They're part of a challenging matrix that every CSO must navigate. As we look into the future of security and the evolving role of the security professionals, here are some other interesting findings. 42% consider artificial intelligence and AI-powered surveillance top of their future investments, as we said before, next 5 years. 40% are going to invest in biometrics and facial recognition in the next 5 years, and 84% said that recruitment of security professionals will be challenging over the next 5 years. Now, if we look at the people who will be navigating this complex landscape of technology and skills, right, it's safe to say that technology proficiency is becoming increasingly important. This is reflected in 52% of the CSOs who said training staff to use new tech will be the company's priority over the next 12 months. Now, before we wrap up, let's discuss the real-world barriers that companies face when implementing new technologies. A significant 35% of CFOs state a lack of internal skills within their own companies, and 34% point out to general skill gap in the security workforce. So how do we navigate through these barriers? We definitely need to upscale our internal training programs and hiring strategies. The skills gap is essentially a roadmap telling us where we need to improve and partner up with experts to implement effectively. So what's next? First and foremost, download, read, digest the full report. It's not just data. It's a security asset that can arm you with insights that you need to bring to your stakeholders and elevate the stakeholder conversation. We hope that this report can serve as a tool to address the uneasy neglect of security in the boardrooms. That's where we have to have these conversations, and this is ammunition. And fuel internal excellence. Those in operations, this is your roadmap. Use the trends to innovate your training programs, fine-tune your recruitment strategies, augment your operational efficiency. By proactively deploying the knowledge and insights from this report, we're not merely adapting to the changing security landscape, we're actually leading it. It's not just react. Let's be the catalyst for change. So I hope the webinar has been insightful and that I've managed to do the report a little bit of justice in the mere 15 minutes we had together. But most importantly, I hope I've convinced you to download the report and use it as a tool with your stakeholders. So please visit worldsecurity.report.com. Download your free copy. And thank you once again for joining, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Goodbye and stay safe.
And a special thanks to Mike and the G4S team for starting us off with the big picture view of what's on the minds of so many of the world's most prominent security professionals. Now, before our next speaker, a quick reminder to our international live stream audience that we're running this event under Chatham House rules. This means you are free to use information from our conference sessions, but not allowed to reveal who made any specific comments without their prior permission. So having now gained a greater understanding of what CSOs are thinking, let's drill down now into the types of security challenges facing supply chain operations, not least how to avoid high-risk transportation routes where cargo criminals are known to be most active. Once again, technology has a big part to play in helping to identify and analyse these risks. As everyone in our audience knows, the threat of cargo crime is ever present. Logistics operators must balance just-in-time delivery pressures against cost, driver hours and other operational constraints, whilst also implementing controls to ensure the security of drivers, trucks and cargoes. So, where is the best place for a security intervention from point of loading to the delivery destination? And what does it look like? What security measures provide the best bang for their buck? Using a case study route and real-life incidents, our next presentation will help to answer these questions. So, let's hand over to our next speakers, Steve Bacco and Jean Albin at Risk Intelligence, for their presentation recorded at the Risk Intelligence headquarters in Copenhagen.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for tuning into our presentation today. My name is Steve Bacco, the Land Risk Manager at Risk Intelligence.
Hi everyone, my name is Jean Albin. I am the Land Risk Security Specialist. Welcome.
So today we'll be discussing how to defeat cargo theft whilst acknowledging that there is not enough secure truck parking out there, and also, although highly recommended, you may not be able to certify your entire truck fleet to the Tapa TSR standard. So considering these constraints, we'll discuss what you can do to reduce your threat of cargo theft. So I'll discuss what options you have to reduce the likelihood and impact of a cargo theft incident against one of your trucks, and where different prevention, detection, and response measures fit in within the logistics planning and delivery process.
Using 2 case study incidents, I will then discuss the connection between the criminal capabilities and intentions on the one hand, and truck and parking area vulnerabilities that provide opportunities for criminal to act on the other, to highlight what security measures can help you avoid falling victim to cargo theft.
So let's dive into the various risk management controls available to you. So in simple cause and effect terms, the direct risk we face, which is no surprise, is criminals trying to steal our cargo or fuel, and on occasion using or threatening violence against the driver. And the threat of insider collusion can also never be discounted. So ideally, we implement controls to prevent an incident before it happens. But if prevention fails, all we can do is try to reduce the impact through detection and response measures, whilst remembering that certain controls may be effective in preventing theft, but they'll not stop a robbery and they won't prevent insider collusion. So by looking at 2 typical cargo theft incidents, we can understand how best to apply these control measures. So our 2 incidents took place against trucks on the A4 motorway near Dresden, Germany. And we consider this route a hotspot for cargo and fuel theft, and have recorded 70 incidents along this route this year alone. And for our 2 case study incidents, these include the theft of 2 pallet loads of trainers and the theft of 250 car tyres. Both incidents took place at non-secure rest areas along the A4. Jean will be looking at the situation context and the criminal opportunities that these 2 parking areas provide shortly in the presentation. But when analysing how these 2 incidents played out, we'll consider what controls may have prevented or reduced the impact of the incident. And this includes a variety of physical and technical preventive controls, and also procedural and intelligence controls that, if implemented, may have prevented the incident. And there are no bad controls. It's just a case of selecting the right combination of controls for the right situation, which are both feasible and cost effective for your business. So when prevention failed in these 2 incidents we're looking at today, the selected physical control measures for the truck and trailer were defeated by the criminals, and other controls were not implemented. Basically, the truck was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now we're in damage containment. So technical, procedural and intelligence controls could still have alerted the operator of the theft in progress to possibly limit the impact of the incident. But when the detection measures fail to alert the operator and deter or stop the criminals, all that's left is response. And unfortunately, all too often, this involves the driver discovering the theft in the morning. However, there are still plenty of control measures that can be applied to respond to an incident and possibly recover the cargo. I'll now hand over to Jean so we can dig into these incidents, understand what happened, and what you can do to prevent falling victim to a similar incident.
So let's now look in more details at the data we have collected. Our goal here is to analyze the different steps of a typical cargo theft commission process, to connect the dots between the crime events and the situational context in which they occurred, to highlight the elements that may have influenced offenders' decision to target your vehicle or not, and ultimately to define the who, the how, and where and when to demonstrate how criminals utilize their skills and resources to exploit vulnerabilities in the highlighted hotspot. But first, I think it is important to take an instant to remember, when does cargo crime happen? And here our data is concordant with wider crime studies theories on highlighting 2 important points. The first one is that offenders are rational beings. Their action heavily depends on cost-benefits analysis throughout the whole crime commission process. At the end of the day, they aim to maximize their rewards and minimize the efforts and the risk associated with carrying out a crime. The second point is that crime then occurs when there is an opportunity for it. And typically, this opportunity will be created when there is a convergence of a motivated offender, a target that is deemed to be suitable, and the absence of capable guardians, that is, crime controllers such as security guards, police officers, passerbys, quite often in our situation other drivers, but also local business managers and workers, for example. And in practice, what we then see from our data sets is that offenders rarely target vehicles because of their load alone. That's cases of insider threats aside, obviously. Rather, they most often follow a three-step process that is based on finding opportunities to commit a theft. They will first identify vulnerable sites in which a large number of suitable targets may congregate. They will then go through a process of target selection and finally proceed with the crime event itself. But before we go any further, you may be asking yourselves, who exactly is offending? And here, whilst we do see a lot of common delinquents behind our recording incident, in a lot of cases, we've seen small groups of offenders who were involved in a high number of crimes, which implied high capabilities and significant criminal knowledge, and they displayed high levels of confidence and motivation. This, in turn, implied the involvement of organized elements within the highlighted hotspot. This is crucial information because the presence of this type of threat actor heavily impacts the local threat levels, and in a negative way, obviously. Why? Well, because they tend to carry out, or at least be able to carry out, crimes that have much higher impact than other type of criminal enterprises. Now, if we look at the characteristics then of the incidents we are presenting today, in terms of site selection, here our data is very clear. One of the most important elements in cargo crime hotspots throughout Europe is, unsurprisingly, the lack of secure parking options. And this element is very much central to understanding the situation in the area we are concentrating on today. There are no parking that we here at Risk Intelligence assessed as being low risk out of 76 parking areas that we recorded on our system. And in fact, the majority of incidents that we see throughout this hotspot occurred in parking areas presenting similar characteristics to the two we are using as example today. First, they are isolated, as you can see from the satellite imagery on the screen right now. There is little to no activity surrounding the rest areas. The closest habitations are far away from the parking space itself, etc. We also note very poor visibility around the parking areas. They are often not visible for the roads or the motorways. They are typically badly lit. Outside of peak operating times, there is little to no traffic within or really close to these parking areas. They also present no or poor access control measures, typically no physical barriers such as fences and gates. And most of the time, as is the case with most rest areas, they are completely open. And these elements mean that offenders can, and indeed do, hide in plain sight with little to no effort. It also means that exiting the crime scene is incredibly easy. It is quite literally a matter of jumping in a vehicle and driving away if the crime has not been noticed by that point in the crime commission process. The second point is targets. So as far as targets are concerned, vehicles most likely to fall to victimizations are, well, simply put, the one that can be quickly and easily accessed. We see different MOs here, of course, but in the majority of our incidents, to be precise, 55% of our recorded cases, offenders simply cut through the trailer's curtains to gain access to the cargo area. What we then see is that, contrary to what a lot of people may believe, cargo crime is not necessarily focused on high-value goods. And in fact, through that particular hotspot, some of the most widely stolen commodities end up being food products, drinks, or clothes. And just from these 2 points, we can clearly see that the question of efforts is central to the crime commission process, as has been previously mentioned. But alongside concentrating on vulnerable sites and preferring to target vehicles deemed easy to access or easier to access, a third element we keep seeing is the fact that offenders overwhelmingly act at night. In fact, out of the 31 incidents in which a precise time could be established, we have recorded on our hotspot, a staggering 29 occurred at nighttime. Here, the main elements to comment on is obviously the lack of light, particularly when we are talking about areas where artificial lighting is poor to non-existent. The lack of light decreases the risk of being caught by witnesses. Drivers are typically asleep, and they are thus not in a position to act as capable guardians. Parking areas are likely to be less populated than during the daytime, etc. And all these elements mean that nighttime may be perceived by offenders as making the crime commission process easier. And as a result, it might be increasing the incentive to commit a crime in the first place. And whilst all of those information may appear to be kind of common sense, the fact that we see such high incidence of cargo theft throughout Europe indicate that we as an industry need to keep working on informing ourselves precisely on threat actors involved in cargo crime and on their processes. And as you can see, collecting and analysis incident data gives us exactly that. It gives us a lot of information on the how, the who, and the when of cargo crime. And in return, these give us precious indications on how to prevent thefts from happening in the first place. There are many different steps that can be taken to avoid victimization when parking in a secure location is just simply not possible. And these include attempting to maximize potential guardianship, for example, or using a whole range of technological solutions to increase the effort required by offender to access your cargo. However, the choice of which behavioral, technological, or procedural approach may be most effective and also cost-effective for you can only be assessed after understanding the various threats you might be confronted with. And in this sense, we would argue that nothing is more essential than raising one's awareness through intelligence. Using intelligence will help you identify secure parking areas, of course, but it will also help you make informed decisions on the use of non-secured sites, depending on the local threat picture, on the incident history, and the site's vulnerabilities when you have to park in one of those places. Additionally, as you can see from the two hotspots that are currently presented on the screen, threat is situational. And here our data highlight that the main threat around Milan, for example, which is another one of Europe's major cargo theft hotspots, is located not on the way, as was the case with the hotspot we concentrated on today, but within industrial estates themselves, as criminal enterprises will often target vehicles that are parked in the premises of facilities rather than in dedicated parking or rest areas. And in fact, even if we stay within one country, you may have to adapt to different threats. Our incidents show that when operating at Frankfurt, for example, particularly along the A5, A6, and A7 motorways, the main threat you are likely to experience is not technically cargo theft, but fuel theft. And this implies that there is a different threat picture in the region that is but a few hundred kilometers away from the hotspot we have been showing today.
So to conclude today, the lack of secure parking, that's an environmental risk, and you can't change that. And you'll most likely have to use non-secure parking on some of your routes. However, not securing your truck, that's an organisational risk that you can control. And even if you can't certify to Tapa TSR standard right now, implement the protocols to the extent possible to mitigate your risks, particularly when you're using non-secure parking. Use intelligence to understand the threat, and when using non-secure parking, your truck and trailer become the security perimeter. So you do really need to implement security controls, but of course, there will always be a cost factor involved for you. But without intelligence, you lack a baseline to help you decide which controls to implement to combat the threat and make best use of your resources. So please contact us, Tapa, or any of the other Tapa Premier partners or members for advice on implementing the range of controls that we discussed today. And finally, thanks for listening in, and thank you once again to the Tapa team for the opportunity to present today. And we wish you all a great virtual conference.
Thank you all, and see you in Amsterdam.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you to Steve and Jean for their fascinating insight. And if you have any questions for Risk Intelligence or any of the Tapa Emea 2023 Premier Partners, then you can connect with them now via the exhibitor page of our conference website, where you'll find videos, profiles, contact details, and a request form for further information. Next up, we welcome Ronit Biswas, Head of Global Customer Strategy and Commercial Excellence at ZF. As the digital transformation of supply chains gathers momentum, companies are both hopeful and apprehensive about how this will impact the future of their businesses, collaboration, and end customers. In this session, Ronit will talk about the potential of artificial intelligence, next-gen connectivity, and the brave heart that businesses must leverage if they are to ensure optimum transparency, road safety, cargo security, and carbon neutrality for the future of autonomous, connected, and electric mobility. Ronit recorded this presentation for us this week from his base in Belgium. Ronit, it's over to you.
As a deeply integrated supply chain industry, today, when we think about the future of cargo logistics, we tend to think more in terms of how the technological disruptions are going to shape how we evolve. But we must argue, is it the technology that dictates how we work? Or is it more our work and day-to-day needs that dictate how technology should evolve? Perhaps it's both. But today, let us think about not as industry stakeholders, but more as general day-to-day consumers, how we shape the future of supply chain management. Think about it. 10 years ago, if we would purchase something online, we were happy to have the goods delivered that very week. 7-day delivery was fine. Today, 1-day delivery is the norm. So, what is going to be the norm 10 years from now? Our consumers of tomorrow will want what they want when they want it. And today, we as an industry have this dream of an automated supply chain with end-to-end transparency. So how are we going to accommodate all of this? In order to address the challenges of tomorrow, you need to start by addressing the problems of today. Problems like dispatcher inefficiencies, energy overconsumption, driver shortage, and more. But it's not just about how do you address these problems, it's also about how do you think about them. So today, we will try to rethink how to address 2 of those specific problems. 1, how do you make your fleet safer? And 2, how do you make your assets more secure? So let's jump right in. How do you make your fleets safer? The very notion of safety revolves around mitigating risks before an incident actually occurs. We are talking about enhancing driver assistance, avoiding accidents, improving vehicle health. So how do we do this? Firstly, we have connected advanced driver assistance systems, or connected ADAS in short. Today, it is commonplace for vehicles to be equipped with advanced collision avoidance systems, or with lane departure warning systems, or with adaptive cruise control, for example. But it is not just about equipping your vehicles with these technologies. It is also about trying to understand why were these systems activated in the first place. So, for example, if you would connect all of these advanced driver assistance systems together with, let's say, a telematics device, you will have detailed insights about what went wrong on the road. And you can then study these insights to see historical patterns, observe what is happening, and then predict what is going to happen in the future. So it would be more of a holistic approach for you to know, for example, why during the course of a driver's journey, for more than 50% of the time, the adaptive cruise control was turned off, or why was a particular driver overspeeding. All these important insights, when they come together, they create a much more detailed understanding of where your fleet's overall safety standards lie. And you can use these insights to then train your drivers to elevate those standards. Secondly, we have vehicle-to-everything, or V2X communication. Now, V2X is a concept where you connect vehicle information together with the traffic information, or the overall road infrastructure. So we are talking about, on one hand, having vehicle information, but on the other hand, having weather conditions, traffic patterns, and things like that. And although the concept of V2X is not new, we have still a long way to go before we make this commonplace on our roads. And how do we start doing that? By connecting your vehicles with the right technologies so that you have information in the first place. Without information, there is no automation, and without automation, we cannot be thinking about being ready for the future of supply chain. And finally, we have the evolution from predictive to a more prescriptive form of analytics. Today, big data analytics can already incorporate your planning, your driving resting times, and the different weather conditions, traffic patterns, and things like that to eventually bring these data points together to recommend, for example, what was a safer place for that particular driver to lodge for the night. However, how would you communicate these recommendations in real time to your driver to make sure that the driver is pre-informed about where to stop or where not to stop for the night? That's where the prescriptive or the proactiveness of recommendations of a system comes into picture. If you combine all this information that you get from big data analytics, and on the other hand bring in an automated system that, while generating these recommendations, is also informing the driver about what to do, where to stop, where not to stop for the night, then you have a much more active form of fleet safety. So next time your driver is about to stop at a particular location, parking location for example, which is notoriously known for being unsafe for the night, then already the right dispatchers are informed, the driver is informed, and the fleet can already take actions to mitigate a risk before an incident actually occurs. These are just some instances of how you can be proactive in taking your fleet safety in your own hands. But in the end, when it comes to safety, it is always about being proactive, so you can already predict what is going to happen, so you can take actions even before an incident actually occurs. How do you make your assets and cargo more secure? Today, when we talk about asset and cargo security, we are talking about how to prevent cargo theft, how to avoid unauthorized trailer intrusion, or how to avoid trafficking and problems like that. We have, of course, our security alliances with shippers, government offices, safety associations like Tapa, and the fleet or carriers. But what is the one common thing that you will find amongst all these different stakeholders? Insights. Real-time insights about what is happening with the driver, with the trailer, with the cargo at this particular moment. And how do you get those insights? By connecting your vehicles with the right technologies and having a system that can do something with those technologies. Let us look at fleet security from 3 different angles. Firstly, having the right connectivity. Now, connecting your drivers, trailers, trucks, and cargo is just the beginning. We also need to incorporate information from various sensors and peripherals like door locking system or tire pressure monitoring system or reefers or loggers, like that. Now, having an understanding, a holistic understanding of what is happening with your trucks, trailers, drivers, cargo, and everything is revolving around this setup will give you the right insights to take the right actions. So it all starts with the right type of data acquisition. Secondly, having the right fleet orchestration system. Now, previously when we collected all those crucial vehicle and driver information, we needed to do something with it. Now, fleet management today is limited in its capacities of handling a mission. So even though a fleet management system can incorporate information from various different sensors and peripherals, it's always reactive in how the fleet management system addresses those concerns. You need a system that is proactive. You need a system that is always analyzing what is happening in real time, while also observing patterns from historical data to eventually predict what is going to happen in the future. You need fleet orchestration, the next generation of fleet management that will help you send the right vehicle to the right place at the right time. So think about it. Next time there is an unauthorized trailer intrusion, someone trying to break in your trailer at a particular parking location, then there is the right camera to take the video footage of that particular incident. The right stakeholders like dispatchers and drivers are automatically involved about what to do and informed. And of course, the system is accumulating all of these different incidents to eventually predict that perhaps that parking location should not be considered for the driver next time. And finally, having the right platform and cloud services. Now, transparency is only as good as the platform it comes with. You need to make sure that your fleet is always connected with the freight exchange platforms, supply chain visibility platforms, control towers, shippers, and other ecosystem stakeholders. And how would you do that? You need the right partner that can provide you with the right platform uptime. You need the right partner that can, of course, have all that crucial information for you, provide you with it, and also all your partners with it. So it's not just about having any platform partner. It's about having the partner that can provide you with all of this, but also cater to your needs that you may not even think about today. To conclude on our stories, the readiness of your fleet for the future of supply chain in the end depends heavily on your adoption of the right technologies and the right partnerships. It's your proactiveness as a fleet that will dictate how ready you are for that future. The best way to predict the future of your fleet is to create it. So let's create it. We at ZF have more than 30 years of experience when it comes to fleet management. And as one of the world's largest Tier 1 suppliers, we have a wealth of vehicle information and understanding. And bringing them both together, we are your right partner when it comes to digitalizing your vehicle operations and eventually making your fleet leaner, greener, and safer.
Thank you, Ronit. You've given us plenty to think about. And once again, if you do have any questions for Ronit or indeed any of the other presenters, please do go to the exhibitor page of our conference website where you can contact him and ZF directly. Now we welcome to our studio here in Germany our next presenter. Hannah Cordes is Managing Director of Bosch Mobility Platform and Solutions. Hannah's here to present an innovative approach to transport security, exploring critical aspects of logistics, focusing on secure parking for trailers and trucks, and giving us an introduction to the seamless integration of solutions and innovative services into transport management systems, or TMS. Hannah, welcome to the studio and thank you for joining us today. We're very much looking forward to your presentation, so please do come in and join us, and it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And thanks for having me here today. So it's my pleasure to be here. It's my first Tapa conference. Thanks for inviting me. And I'm really looking forward to the next 25 minutes where I will give you a short introduction to what digital technology can do to enhance safety and logistics operations. And I'm looking forward to this session and hopefully some good exchange afterwards. So let me start with giving a bit of context to what we do at Bosch Logistics Operating System. What we are doing is building a platform which is designed as an open ecosystem. And this open ecosystem is connecting, on the one hand side, independent software vendors, which come from different areas, from telematics, from fleet management, from transport management, and from different areas in digitization, with, on the other hand, logistics service providers, freight forwarders, shippers, and carriers. And what are we doing exactly with that platform, you may ask? So at the core is a horizontal integration layer, which is connecting the data and the digital services of those different providers in a very smart way, so it becomes very easy for customers to consume those services. You may ask yourself the question, why is Bosch doing this? We are famous for household appliances and also for automotive parts. We are doing this because, on the one hand side, we are also active in digital services. We believe that there is a lot of potential in data and digital services in fleet and transportation. On the other hand, we have a right to play because we are basically in each vehicle with sensor technology, so that gives us the right to play. And most importantly, there's a huge market demand. And why am I saying this? Because if you look at the logistics and transportation market today, it's a hugely fragmented market. Most of the players, most of the carriers out there are small and medium-sized enterprises, and they are hugely under-digitized today. So we see a huge business opportunity to also help and support these companies in becoming more digital, in making it very easy to access different digital solutions, and in connecting our own offerings with partner solutions out there. You may ask yourself the question now, if you are a carrier or shipper, so what is in it for me? Why is that beneficial? So let me just give you a quick glimpse of what the key benefits of these platforms are. On the one hand side, it is a very easy one-stop shop for digital services from Bosch, but also, of course, most importantly, from our partners. On the second hand, those services are interconnected, and we are solving real-world problems with those services. I will give you later in the presentations 3 concrete use cases, so it becomes very concrete what we're doing to increase safety and security in the logistics domain. Last but not least, if you are interested to learn more, please come and explore the marketplace. It's on www.l-os.com. You can register there for free and just have a look yourself. Now, I want to give you 3 concrete use cases, like I said, to give you a better understanding of what digital technology can do to make a difference and what integration can really do to improve the access and solve problems which are out there in the market. Let me start by secure truck parking. And starting with a problem statement. So I guess this is no news, but let's dive into the past and understand how the lack of parking has been at the root of cargo security issues. If you look at those very alarming statistics here, on average, the European driver spends 1 hour a day to search for parking spots. There are 100,000 parking spots missing all over Europe. There are 425,000 unfilled driver positions as of today. And if you look at the size of loss, the EU is publishing those statistics, we look at 8 billion euros stolen from trucks each year. So I don't think I need to convince anyone that this is a huge problem. If you dig a little deeper into the root causes of the problem, why is parking such an issue? There are basically 3 characteristics. Number 1 is there is a low investment in truck parking. So this means insufficient funding has been hindering the development of parking spaces and parking infrastructure. But in the past, providers of parking didn't have the chance to monetize parking areas in the right way. The second root cause is the lack of reservable parking spaces. So today it's still hard to find a suitable parking space along the route and reserve it in advance. Last but not least, if you look at parking spaces out there on the highway, you can see them every day, most of them are in very poor condition. And this is, of course, an uncomfortable situation for drivers, and it's putting a lot of the cargo delivery at risk. Now, how do we make a difference using digital technology here? The claim I'm bringing here with me today is that we are revolutionizing truck parking with a, so to speak, booking.com for parking spaces. You can think of a digital solution where it becomes very easy to for carriers and shippers to reserve parking spaces and to book them along the route, where the availability is increasing because we're working with park area providers. And last but not least, but very importantly, security is improving because the truck and trailer is parked in a secure location. Now, I've come in here with the value proposition or with the hypothesis that integration can really make a difference. And I want to prove this by showcasing what we have done with the leading transport management system provider in Germany, which is called LIS Winsped. So the power of integration is that today, what happens in reality is that dispatchers and drivers have to use different systems independently. They're not connected, and that hinders the use of digital solutions. What we have done with LIS is to integrate the secure truck parking option into the TMS, and you can see that here on the screen. So it becomes very easy for dispatchers to book and reserve a parking spot already along the route, which then increases the driver satisfaction because they don't have to search for a parking space for 1 hour a day. It also improves the ETA calculation, which makes the shipper happier. And last but not least, the availability during the route planning is a huge advantage and can save cost from a carrier perspective. So there's really a power of integration if we're bringing together different solutions and making it very, very easy for users to make use of it in their daily life. The second use case I want to talk about today is integrated trailer security. I don't have to tell you that cargo theft is a huge problem. I've just given you the statistics with 8 billion euros on an annual basis of cargo theft in the EU. Nonetheless, there's still it's a problem that is not a key priority for law enforcement, unfortunately. But it is a key priority from a shipper perspective. If you are shipping high-value goods, you don't want to get it lost and stolen along the way. And of course, it's also a priority for the carriers out there. And what I want to show you is how technology can again enable and improve security of trailers. What we have done in this specific case is connecting an IoT device on the one hand side, a trailer security monitoring device, with a monitoring center. Again, it's bringing together different partners. So for the trailer security monitoring, we're using Kirsten in this case, which is a company that's providing an IoT device which is very easy to install, which is independent from the energy level because it's solar powered. And it's giving the user the opportunity to have real-time availability of the trailer and also detecting anomalies along the way, for example, if someone tries to break into the trailer. The second service piece, which we're connecting it to, is a 24/7 monitoring center. So virtually, we are able to track the trailer along its journey and then giving a full visibility on any anomalies or anything which is happening which shouldn't happen along the way. Again, by connecting those and integrating them into a TMS, into a transport management system of a shipper, that gives the user the full visibility in one system without having to operate multiple systems in parallel. And then also customizing, for example, if in case of an anomaly, you want to have law enforcement involved, if you want to have a security company behind this, etc. The last use case I want to showcase you today, where integration can really help to make a difference, is about driver communication. So why am I talking about driver communication when we're talking about technology? What always gets forgotten, or often gets forgotten, that technology has to be used by people, and for the security issues, a lot of the topics that we're seeing, a lot of the problems which are caused in the market are in relation with the driver. So what we have done very specifically is to work with a very innovative company called Zecu, who is able to provide an agnostic messenger communication service, and we are connecting that to the secure truck parking solution. What does it mean? What is the benefit of bringing those two together? You may ask yourself. There are benefits from a user perspective. For example, there will be a direct communication for the driver. So the dispatcher, in this case, can share access information to the driver directly without any system breaks. This means that the driver receives the information on their mobile app, and there's no additional software needed to install on the driver's phone, because what we see in reality is that a lot of the problems that are happening with drivers are trying to be solved by getting another driver app out there, which is not always picked up. So what we're trying again to do is to reduce the barriers of entry and make technology very, very easy to use. A second advantage in this case is that that there's an automatic translation into the driver's native language, because there's also no news. Language barriers are one of the key challenges today in problems that arise with driver communication. So in this case, the dispatcher doesn't have to know Polish, Romanian, whatever language it is. It is directly translated in a context information to the driver. And that means that the driver, in the example of truck parking, is then able to receive ad hoc support at the parking area. And it also means, for example, you can ask, how do I get into a parking area with a QR code? You can push that information directly to the driver's phone, and it's very easy for the driver to navigate. So to sum up, this means that the driver is more satisfied, and it increases, and that's most important, the security and comfort for the drivers. I'm coming to the end of the presentation, and here's the quick summary of what I've presented today. So my main message has been we can use technology to really make a difference. It really makes sense to connect the dots when you bring different services and data together and increase the value creation. And with the 3 use cases I've been explaining, there's a seamless integration happening along the transport journey. So at the planning stage, when you're planning the route in a transport management system, you could increase security by already booking and reserving secure parking spaces. Along on the journey, when the driver's out there, technology can really help to communicate and make a very seamless integration and seamless communication to the driver possible. And last but not least, by integrating all of these services into a transport management system, that means that the shipper or the carrier has direct access to the information, to alert levels, and that monitoring becomes very easy and straightforward. I want to thank you for your attention, and now I'm really looking forward to the questions and Q&A session with Sam.
Hannah, thank you so much for that very interesting update. And as you said, I do have a few questions for you based on some of the points that you've made. Let me start by coming back to the parking use case that you presented. How do you rate the actual relevance of this, and how strong is demand from both shippers and carriers?
Thanks for the question. So as I said earlier, the relevance of the problem is really severe. So on the one hand side, you can monetize it by looking at the cargo theft that happens every year. If you ask carriers and transport companies across the globe, actually, even in the US, that was a recent question, what are your top 3 challenges? Truck parking is always in the top 3. So the market, the customer is giving us that direct feedback that it's really a severe problem. And therefore, we see increasing demand. We really see that with the driver shortage we're facing, there's more and more companies who are also concerned about the driver's well-being, about treating the driver in an appropriate way and giving them also the opportunity to spend the night in a secure location. So it's not only the aspect of cargo security, it's also the driver comfort and driver retention which plays into that.
And how do you think that this is going to evolve in the future, given that there'll be much more electrification in the future?
Absolutely. So on electrification, this is already a reality if you look to the last mile, if you look to the small and light commercial vehicles, where we see an increasing penetration now of vehicles. For truck parking or for trucks in general, electrification will take slightly longer, but nonetheless, you have the first electric trucks out there delivered to customers as of now. And then in this case, parking becomes even more important because the route planning in case of an electric vehicle is more important. You need to be sure that the state of charge is happening. You need to ensure that you have a charge and park facility for the night. Overnight charging is a use case that is very prominent that we're looking in. So we're expecting an increase in demand driven by electrification.
And looking ahead again, what new technology drive opportunities do you think we'll be seeing coming into play, and how long are we going to have to wait for these next innovations?
That's a good question, looking into the future. So personally, I believe there's a multitude of new technologies which we're only at the glimpse of expectations. But let me start with a couple of concrete ones. So I think we will see in Europe a lot more usage of camera and driver monitoring, inward and outward facing with video. Surveillance. In the past there has been a reluctance to make use of that, but there we are seeing an opening in the market, and video technology together with cloud computing can really make a difference in preventing accidents, for example, to happen. So that's one aspect. A second aspect is on the number plate recognition, on optimizing number plate recognition in collaboration with geofencing. So that will give you also secure zones where you can, for example, park, or giving access to the warehouses will become more optimized by technology. And last but not least, generative AI. I'm expecting a lot of difference from that, especially if you look at the usage of technology. So if you don't have to program your own rules, if you can just ask your system on, please give me the recommendation for secure truck parking, for example, it'll become easier to use. So that will revolutionize definitely the technology space in the next years.
And just finally, do you think technology can really provide the answer to today's and the future challenges which we're facing with the global transportation industry?
Well, I hope so. I really truly believe that technology is a key enabler, but I also have to say the human being should always be at the center of every technology. So technology is made to enable humans, and we always have to look at who's using it. So, for example, coming again back to the question of the driver is also at the center of many of the security topics we're facing today. So focusing on driver certification, on driver training is increasingly important, and that can be enabled by technology, but it can never be done without humans.
Hannah, thank you so much for coming into the studio. It's been a real pleasure for us to have you with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'll let you leave that way and I'll take over. Thank you. So it's time now for our final presentation of day one, and a chance to look at what are widely considered to be Tapa's greatest contribution to supply chain security, the Tapa standards. Now, as most of our audience will know, 2023 has been a big year in the evolution of the association's security standards, with the launch of the latest revisions of Tapa's facility security requirements and trucking security requirements going live on September the 15th, following the introduction of the latest version of the association's parking security requirements at the start of this year. Now, to discuss the standards in more detail, it's my pleasure to welcome to the studio Marcus Prince, Senior Manager of Standards, Training and Certification at Tapa Emea. Marcus is also going to be bringing us up to date with the training support available to companies who are adopting the Tapa standards for the first time, or those planning to increase their certifications across multiple facilities. Keeping with our technology theme, he'll also be explaining how Tapa Emea is using AI to support more local language versions of the training courses, which we had a hint of earlier today. And he'll be discussing the prospect for new standards in the future. Marcus, do join us. Welcome so much, and thank you. Over to you when you're ready.
Thank you, Sam, for the nice introduction. Also, welcome from our studio here in Goch. It's a pleasure for me to give you an update what occurred this year, what has been happened, also what plans we are going to do, and what insights we do have to share for you. What has changed in the FSR? So the focus was on adjusting terms, retention periods, responsibilities, authorities, but also explanations and definitions. Last but not least, the influence of trends, figures, data and facts, through which the adoption of CCTV technology and video surveillance software has been changed from recognizable to recognition of facial features. This was a major change. And of course, I remember we discussed that really strong in the Worldwide Change Control Board team. But also adjustments that were exclusively the responsibility of the central function in the last revision, which has now also become the focus of the single site, was really important. So parallel to the FSR revision, we have also, we have of course overcome all the hurdles surrounding multi-site certification over the past 2 years, and have also drafted a new guidance document for multi-site certification. So I'm proud and also honored to publish also today our EMEA first multi-site handling guidance document, which you can also download and check out from today from the webpage. Ongoing in the download area under the FSR standards. And especially here again, a big thanks to Ron and our standards sub-team who prepared and brought together all the relevant information. But not only that, we also introduced and updated a new guidance document design. Plus, we created a new and clean design of our AA certificates and the self and partner certs. Important, so we changed the design with a new layout, so stay tuned to find out more about FSR standard update and register for our new Synthesia avatar training. Thorsten mentioned that already this morning. We have really invested a lot of time in new solutions, in a new concept, and that's now ready to use. So, which over 300 members have already done in just under 6 weeks after release. Beside the virtual trainings we provided already in August, what means we trained almost 500 members with the new training material already. And in the next step, we will directly translate the standards as well as the FSR and TSR training programs. And we start first with the French translation, followed up with the German translation, and then also we continue with Italian and with Spanish language. And very probably also optionally in Turkish. That's also a new direction for us, so let's wait and see how easy or how complicated it will be to update this Synthesia tool, but we will keep you updated. This also concerns the local language of the avatar, the subtitles, as well as the summary films, and that's also new for us. In the past, you always have seen only the English version, and we are going in the direction that we are coming closer to our local teams and also to all the local support. So that we also have at the end of each module the wrap-up film, and in the future also the exam is part of the local language translation. So all in all, a quantum leap in the development process. And finally, of course, not forgetting our updated and adapted audit forms with the free text and options and explanations of intent that supports our audit bodies to get more knowledge and information also on each and every requirement. Let's close the FSR topic and let's move on to the TSR requirements and what has happened to the TSR this year. Also here we rolled out the revision of the standard since the 15th of September, and we added here as well some new features. We divided in different vehicle categories, in different appendix documents to offer our members a better overview and if necessary to have the flexibility to add a new vehicle category if necessary. We also readjusted the number of samples during the audit and added more explanatory information to individual requirements. We also have a new enhanced option for the alarm and theft protection in the side walls of the loading unit. Of course, freely selectable and only for individual needs, like all of our enhanced options. In addition to that, the upcoming translations of the standards and training programs into the planned languages, we will also initiate the revision and update of the locking guidance and telematic guidance documents. And we are planning to do that in spring 2024. So a lot of things are already went on. And we are by far not ready. We have a lot of things on our screen for the future. And if you would like to support us in revising these documents or have experience with the mentioned topics, please get in touch with me or let me also introduce Satya, my dear colleague, and forward him a message by end of November. So stay tuned also for these revisions in the spring of next year. That brings me to the PSR topic. PSR, our goals, and Thorsten mentioned it as well. By far, we are looking for more sites, we are looking for more parking place operators. And of course, earlier this year, we also have already launched the PSR 2023. And I hope you have also seen and read all our previous Vigilant newsletter, where we have of course already shared some more information, especially related to the SSTPA program and the connected funding call, as well as we referred to some more numbers, data and facts. I hope you have seen also the FAQs. Pana has given a lot of answers on relevant topics. But if you know investors and our parking place operators who need support or more information on the funding application, please feel free to connect them with Panayotis or with myself. In any case, the focus and major goal is to attract more parking place operators to join our programs and to convince them about the opportunities and the possibility of combining the SSTPA standard cert of the European Commission and the Tapa PSR cert program with only one audit, because we have combined both standards and presented them clearly in the new PSR 2023 revision. Unfortunately, the market for parking places operators is still a bit cautious, but it will remain our top priority to continue steadily increase the number of approved parking places in our TIS data bank and to support our members to reach out and to get more information and to find parking places which are really important also to fulfill the TSR standard. And in this context, we have of course pulled out all the stops to qualify two of our existing AABs for the European Commission SSTPA program and even agreed and added a new AAB player. And this player will only focus on the SSTPA and PSR programs. Of course, we will also update you on that as soon as we have some more details about the approval status. So we have to teach them, we have to train them, we have to qualify them, and of course, then they have to reach out and to apply to the European Commission. Further part of that initiative will be also to generate interfaces to the various booking platform operators in the TIS tool. And you know a lot of them. You know already, we have heard Bosch, we have Snap, we have Otra, and a few others. And we will connect them in the future also with our TIS tool. That gives our members the flexibility and the benefit to search and directly to book the right places via the TIS tool and an API connectivity to each provider. I think at least you recognized we were already really busy and we are still busy. We have a lot of things on our radar, on our plate and on our screen. And together with the entire team, and Thorsten mentioned also already all our supporters like Satya, Nitu, Panayotis, Tamara. So we have the team, we have the power, and of course we will support you as our members in further steps, further translations, and of course a lot of other things in the future. That brings me to the training developments. Also here, Thorsten mentioned we are going in the direction of artificial intelligence. We have new languages on our screen, and we have, of course, new solutions for you. So for participants who have not yet registered or participated in the new training experience, we have switched our training to an avatar concept at the next level and also in using new translation software based on this artificial intelligence. With this approach, we will also be able to deliver our FSR and TSR trainings in 4 different languages over the next 4 months. And again, I started and mentioned we continue with German, followed up by Italian, and then French and Spanish. So this concept not only provides for the translation of the speaker texts in the respective subtitles, but our own training avatars, which are partly used, will also explain the details and content to our members in the respective language and will be concluded with the local off voice of our web app videos. So stay tuned when Thorsten, Massimo, Panayotis and myself will explain the standards to you in local language in the future. Furthermore, these training courses are then completed with the exam and the authorized auditor qualification in the respective national language. This is of course intended to overcome individual language barriers so that the participants can fully concentrate on the content itself. And let me also briefly thank the entire team, as mentioned, around Tamara, Neetu, Satya and Panna for their great efforts in creating this training material. We also have our sights set on developing and optionally releasing a new driver training next year. So stay tuned. We certainly won't run out of ideas. But if you also have ideas or needs in the area of training, please feel free to contact me to coordinate any options. By the way, we also carried out this year our individual and exclusive face-to-face driver trainings for some of our members. And before I forget that, we're currently also busy with digitizing our PSR 2023 training and will also make this online available by January 1st, 2024 at least. SSTPA trainings will continue to take place virtually also in the future, and the corresponding dates will be updated on our website again in a timely manner. And another addition to my matter, please don't miss our new teaser videos on how to handle and use the training vouchers, or how to create or register a new training participant on the website. And please remember that we also offer our FSR and TSR support and preparation webinars for the exams every month. Further, please keep in mind that the training period is limited to 3 months after receiving the dial-in credentials for the Talent LMS tool, and the pass rate for the exam is 80%, which means that 32 of the 40 multiple choice questions must be answered correctly. That's only a side information for those of you who are going into the training programs. Let's conclude also my update with the future of other security standards. So let me now complete today's update with more information what we are doing next. In the next step, we will discuss with other regions how an EMEA-wide orientation can be made possible concerning the use of cybersecurity standard. Thorsten touched that as well. In addition, and upon request, we will also look at the regional GSR APEX standard and analyze in more detail whether any use for the African continent could appear helpful. We will of course keep you informed about this no later than the second quarter of 2024, latest then with our face-to-face conference in sunny Amsterdam. So you see, I hope to have given you an update on what our team is working on the interests of our EMEA members, and that we certainly have a lot planned to offer you support in all matters relating to the supply chain. And the entire team and I are happy to help you at any time. At least that was my short and brief update. Of course, we haven't touched all the information about the new revision standards, but also whenever you have more questions, whenever you have a need to get also information what really has been updated, contact me and we have a separate document to support you on that. Thanks.
Marcus, thank you so much for that update. And as always, we do have a lot of questions on the TAPA standards. You just said anyone can contact you if they have questions that we don't cover, but I have a few I'd love to go through. So if we can go through those now. Let's start with the standards themselves. With the latest 2023 revisions of SF, FSR, TSR and PSR, are there any new requirements that make it more difficult for members to gain certification?
At least, and I've mentioned or touched it a bit, we have now a change from recognizable to recognized facial features. That's at least, and also a lot, we discussed that several times in the Worldwide Change Control routine, due to the fact that it has an impact and increase also on investments if we're doing such kind of changes. And then we agreed, in the earlier days we discussed from recognizable to go in the direction of identifiable. And that means we need a lot of more cameras, we need some more investments, and for big players, they have already 100, 200, 300 cameras, it is a huge invest. And that was the fact that we then agreed and decided to go for facial features. But that also doesn't mean that each and every camera needs to have this solution. At least we need the concept that a visitor or someone else get recognized, and we get these facial features in the camera on one of these sites or different places. And then we can recognize afterwards, okay, that was this person. We have recognized the eye colors, we have recognized the hair color, and then we can also connect it.
You referenced the new FSR multi-site guidance document today. How does it differ from the product-specific guidance documents of the past, such as the locking, CCTV or telematics guidance documents? And when will it be available?
Yeah, this is a good point, of course. From today ongoing, it is available. We have already uploaded to the webpage. And it's not a typical guidance document related to the CCTV or to the locking guidance documents. It is more, we are sharing experience now, experience we made, our audit buddies made, and we covered that now together with the team in one document, and give with this document also our members the support to think about what they need, what they have to be in place before they roll out or continue in that direction.
Let's talk a bit about training, because of course that's another key aspect of TAPA's standards programme. How has the new avatar training concept, which you've spoken about, been received, and how is it going to be developed further?
Yeah, it has taken at least 8 months in the past, and of course we created our own avatars, and yeah, we started now with the English version, and it is the difference compared to previous trainings that we provide now in the future also different languages, and we're starting with the 4 languages: French, German, Spanish and Italian. And of course, after setting these languages up, then we check what new directions we are going, what other languages are needed. But for us, it is a milestone. And also it is a milestone that we have now the whole training in one language. In the past, it was only subtitle support, and the web-up videos were still in English, and the exam was also still in English, and now we are changing everything to the local language. And I think that's, from my point of view, a great step ahead to support our members in the different countries.
And have you had any response from the members or the feedback on it?
At least what I've heard right now, but we rolled out only in English, but it is really, yeah, we got really good response. And one difference also compared to the previous training is that we have now intermediate questions. So we stop also some of the learners to go quickly through the modules. They first have to answer on some intermediate questions, then we check out if they understand the content before they can move directly straight to the next module. It's a kind of hurdle, but it supports at the end the members to pass the exam. And together with the webinar, I'm really sure that we give enough support that everybody can support or can pass the exam.
And with all the different online training options now that are available, is there any need anymore for face-to-face training?
We are providing also face-to-face trainings still, but only upon request. Of course, we see in the future the flexibility of the online trainings for each and every member. We give them 3 months time, and upon their time or upon their free time, they can continue or start, continue, stop in between, can do breaks and then continue again. So with the 3 months period, and of course, we do not have unlimited licenses, and we have already right now roughly 300 up to 350 learners in the tool. So we have to take care a bit that we do not give them too much time, that we are not running out of licenses. But yeah, I think the figure speaks for themselves right now, and we trained already, and 2 months after, nearly 2 months after publication, we have already 500 trained members. From that point of view, I think it's a good sign.
Something you also talked about was the translations of the training materials to make those more accessible to a wider audience. But will the authorised auditor exam be available in local languages in the future?
Yeah. So this will be, the exam will be also in local language, and the certificate design is completely new. We redefined the complete design of all the certificates, of all the training material, and yeah, it is now also in local language available.
And finally, let's just have a couple of quick questions relating to PSR and the e-safe and secure truck parking areas standard. Why is the number of security parking places listed in Tapa Emea's TIS tool so relatively low compared to FSR and TSR certifications?
The issue is, of course, there are a lot of parking locations available. The problem is more that they are already fully booked. There is no need to invest in documentation, to invest in more measures as long they are fully booked already. And of course, we have a data bank of nearly 1,900 parking locations, but we cannot share the details as long as they are not approved. And that's the difference between the partner program and the certification program. Of course, we have also partners listed, but we ask for an application on an annual basis. So we are getting always year by year updates about the security measures and if this security standard is still in place. And that's the reason we can only approve and add these kind of parking places to our TIS tool as long as we have the responsibility of each and every owner to inform us about the security measures. Due to the fact we don't like to see any member or to send any member to a parking location which is not approved, and our members expect at least some minimum criteria, some minimum security measures, and if we do not have them in place, then it's harder for them to use them.
And just to finish, let me ask you if there's going to be another EC funding call in 2024 to support the development of more secure parking sites in Europe. And if so, can you tell us more about the scope of the funding or the time period that operators need to apply within?
Yeah, the current call is open till, if I'm not wrong, until the 20th of January. So that is a really limited time to prepare, of course, all the documents, all the preparations. And for that reason, we expect, of course, there will be another call in 2024. And we expect that it will be at the same time, September up to January. And what we suggest and what we have already done, we contacted investors we have in our network and informed them already. Be prepared really early due to the fact as earlier you get documents, approvals, as faster we can speed up this process. And of course, we can support also members or parking place operators in attracting or at least in supporting them on the approval process. But we expect also more fundings and the higher fundings in 2024 as in 2023.
Well, Marcus, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for bringing us up to date so comprehensively. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, we're almost at the end of day one. But before we go, I'd like to ask Torsten to rejoin us here in the studio to elaborate on some of the issues which have been raised today and to have a look ahead towards tomorrow as well. Torsten, do come in and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm coming over here.
Okay. So, Torsten, you said earlier that outside of the Tapa membership, there's still little take-up of the Tapa standards by other companies. Why is that, and what can Tapa do to change that situation?
Yeah, I think it's really the awareness. You know, as I already said, it's really creating the awareness and creating the mindset change. But I think what's also quite important, over the last couple of years, we are growing really on a way which is really amazing to see that. Nevertheless, let's be very open and honest. You know, we are still representing a niche within the entire supply chain. So a lot of companies still do not understand what is the risk, where's the risk coming from, and how you can connect the dots really to mitigate your risk on the lowest level possible. What is also quite important, as already mentioned, you know, that a lot of companies only wake up when something will happen. That's unfortunately the situation, especially we are in when you talk about resilience, when you talk about security. So I just had a chat with a CSO, you know, from a football club. And it's interesting because he said to me, you know, they woke up when there was an attack on the team bus. And before that, you know, they never really invested into security. You know, now they invest heavily. And that's exactly the world we are in. So I think what we can do as Tapa is really to go to the members and ask the existing members to share our message, you know, to spread what we do. And what is also quite important is that it's not your work. So if you have a contact, let us know and we will follow up. You know, we have an amazing team behind the scenes. And as already said, I think this is the most important thing. Last but not least, a lot of people really are still not really understanding that why it's important to follow an industry standard, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's always easier. So we have nearly 1,000 member companies, which means our standard is recognized in Europe, Middle East, and Africa alone by nearly 1,000 member companies. It's a global standard. It's easy to train. We have all the material, and it's all inside your membership benefit.
And just to pick up a little bit on the point of introducing contacts, we saw that nearly 90% of TIS incident data comes from law enforcement agencies. So if anyone is watching and has a police contact that they'd like to introduce to Tapa Emea, what should they do? And also, what can Tapa Emea really offer its police partners in return?
Yeah, I love this one, so let us know the contact. That's all what you need to do, introduce us and connect them to us. So contact me directly. So please send your email directly to me. I will follow up. And the biggest benefit we give to police forces, of course, first of all, everything is free. So there's no membership needed. There's no membership fee. And we are not only giving them access to TIS, we also train them on TIS. They can be trained on the standards, and we give them some specialized and customized reports. As already mentioned, I think it's quite important. If you look at some countries like the Netherlands, like Sweden, like Denmark, they share with us all the data, but we share with them specific reports, like a breakdown specifically on Denmark. So what we have seen this morning in the first session from a European, Middle East and Africa point of view is exactly what we do with the police forces. And of course, we can do more. So again, if you have a really good police contact wherever in Europe, Middle East and Africa, let us know, connect us to them, and we will follow up on this one. So we need more police support. Thank you.
And just to finish, before you tell us a little bit more about tomorrow, what would you really love our members and the delegates, so anybody watching, to take away from today as a real key message or takeaway?
Yeah, I think for me, what is quite important, and listening to all the speakers today, is really that the risk is going up. The risk is rising. Unfortunately, the world is going into a direction I would like to say no one can like right now. So we thought that one crisis is coming and then the crisis is over and the next crisis is coming. But what we will see right now is, everything started with, let's say, with COVID. And we are in at least 6 or 7 crises on a global perspective. So, and we listed some of them, but please do not underestimate the risk on the trade war between US and China, or still what's going on with China and Taiwan and other stuff. And I think there's so many unpredicted things right now on the horizon, which we really don't have on our radar screen. So, and tomorrow, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We have, again, amazing speakers. We have a lot of people in the studio. That's the good news for tomorrow, so a lot of speakers will be here. And there's one more thing, which is for me super important for tomorrow. So tomorrow we have, at the end of the day 2, we have a Q&A session. And it will be hosted and moderated by Sam. But we have Marcel Salos here, our chair for Tapa Europe, Middle East and Africa, Markus Prinz, and myself. So do me a favor, send your questions already to info@tapaemea.org. We will list all the questions and we will answer them tomorrow live from the studio. There's one more thing I would like to say also on this one. So this is your studio. This is your studio as a Tapa member. If you're in the area of Düsseldorf, it's very close. Düsseldorf is very close to Goch. Or if you're in the area of Nijmegen, stop by. We are always here. We can always have a footage. You can take a look at it. But again, we can also have a kind of an interview. What we plan for 2024 is that we have more kind of podcast stuff, but live from the studio. So this is also something what we have on our radar screen. The team is not aware of that right now, but I just make the decision, so that's it.
It's a good decision, I'm sure. Well, listen, thank you so much, Torsten. It has been a fantastic day and some really great speakers. And we're looking forward to more. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
looking forward to more tomorrow again. So please do make sure that you are back online to join us again tomorrow at 10 a.m. CET for our opening speaker. To join, it's very simple. You simply repeat the login process that you used today. And don't forget, of course, that our virtual exhibition is open today and tomorrow. So please do take the time to visit all of the providers of supply chain products and services which are supporting this event. That's it for today. We do look forward to welcoming you back tomorrow. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.